Hi everyone, today I'm going to be reviewing the game Blast Radius. Now in Blast Radius, you are going to be trying to complete a certain amount of objectives by collecting different types of item cards. You've got regular item cards and then you also have item cards that will do specific actions. In this game, you have the opportunity to trade. You may end up getting sick or incapacitated and limited into what you can do. And you can also fight your opponent as well. So let's check it out. So the object of the game is you're going to be trying to complete either 1, 2, or 3 objective cards, and you're going to just make a decision before the game starts. You could always do more. Here is an example of an objective. This one says find 1 broken glasses and 1 used soap, or find 1 deodorant and 1 extension cord. All these objectives are going to have different things that you're going to be trying to find through this deck. You've got different items here in the deck that are going to be comprised of these and many, many other things. Here's just some of the cards that are going to be here in the game. There's several different types. You've got different tools, different types of weapons, different types of items. A lot of different things in here. Now, you've got 3 different types of cards in this game that you're going to be able to use. You've got simple item cards here. They're going to have things like a ladder, or in this case, a belt buckle. Action cards that can be used to try to complete an objective, but they also have an action separate from that. So, for example, you could heal yourself with this card. You also have cards that are immediate actions. If you draw this, you're going to have to play it immediately. This particular one is the Book of Jokes, which says, tell a joke within 10 seconds or get sick. Here's another example of an immediate card. This one says, you ask for it, you drink the water, and it makes you sick. I'll talk about sickness here in a little bit. You also have some cards that you can use as weapons to try to steal cards from your opponent. This is a crowbar. On top of this, you've got cards that say sick and incapacitated. When you get sick, you're going to be able to play the game as normal. The only thing is you won't be able to turn in any cards to fulfill one of your objectives. If you end up getting sick, you're going to go ahead and put this card in front of you. And what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to roll this die. Whenever you roll a 6, you're going to go ahead and get moved from sick to incapacitated. If you get to the point where you're incapacitated, what you're going to do is put it in front of you, and you're going to roll the die until you can roll a 3. You'll have 3 turns to do this, and after 3 turns, you'll just turn in the incapacitated card, and then you will be well. The difference is that with this, you won't be able to play any cards or do anything at all. The only thing you're going to be able to do is roll the die. And there are several ways you can get sick and incapacitated. You may end up drawing an immediate action card that makes you sick, or you can play a card on your opponent that will make them sick or incapacitated. Now, if you end up getting sick, there are some cards here that will help you get better. Here's one. This is the medical kit. If you draw this, you'll be able to nurse yourself back to health when you are sick. If you get to the place where you're incapacitated, you could get a card like this. This is the defibrillator. This will go ahead and revive you when you are incapacitated. Now, the thing is, some of these action cards might actually be in the objectives that you're trying to collect, so you have to decide whether you want to use that to collect for the objective or if you want to play it as an action. You also have a bunch of character cards that you can choose from. These don't have any special abilities. These are just used for identification purposes. So in the beginning, you're going to go ahead and draw 2 objective cards and also 2 item cards. As long as the item card is not an immediate action card, you can go ahead and lay it in front of you. And these cards are going to be laid out so people can see them. So what you're going to do on your turn is you're going to go ahead and draw a card, and you can have a hand limit of 5 cards in your hand. If you get more than that, you're just going to go ahead and discard the one that you want. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is just simply use soap. Now, I have one more action that I can do, and I can either draw a card, and I can draw a card from either here or the discard pile. I can play an action card if I have it. So let's just say I happen to have this card. This is the machete. I could go ahead and play it on my opponent, so I could do that. I can try to initiate a trade with my opponent, and essentially what that means is I'm going to just ask them, hey, would you like to trade this for this? And they can either say yes or no. And the other thing I can do is to complete an objective. So if I happen to have the required cards to complete this objective, I could go ahead and turn this objective card over on my side saying that I completed it. And then anytime an objective is completed, you're going to go ahead and put the cards here and then reshuffle all of the item cards together. Another thing you can do is you can trade objective cards with the objective card pile. If you're running into a problem where you can't seem to complete the objective, you can go ahead and just simply trade it in. If you decide to do that, what you'll do is you'll put this on the bottom of the deck, and then you'll go ahead and turn over another objective. So if you decide to play an action card on your opponent, say the machete, this one will say steal any 1 card from any player of your choice. So let's say I played it on player 2 over here. I could just go ahead and pick whichever card I want, and I could go ahead and put it on my side. So let's just say I pick the matchsticks. Now, if my opponent happened to have a weapon of his own, he could defend himself with it. So he could play the crowbar, for example. In this case, both of us are going to roll the die, and whoever has the higher roll is going to win the battle. If the attacker wins, he'll be able to go ahead and choose the item that he wants, and he'll discard his weapon. If the defender wins, he will keep his item, then he will go ahead and discard the attack card. So the game will continue until one player ends up completing the required amount of objectives. That player will be the winner. Blast Radius reminds me a little bit of the game Flux. In Flux, you're basically trying to complete objectives, but the objectives are always changing. In this game, the objectives are not changing. They're basically going to stay the same unless you decide to trade out an objective card. I like this game. I like the way the game plays. It's a very light game. It's an easy game to learn and to teach. And the action cards are cool because you can either use them to try to complete an objective, or you can actually use them as an action. Sometimes you have to make that decision as to what you want to do. One of the actions is try to make a trade with your opponent, and he may not want to trade. And it's an interesting decision too when you have to decide whether you want to try to swap out objective cards, because sometimes what will happen is if you do that, you might end up getting the item on the very next turn that you needed for the previous objective card. So you kind of have to figure out which way you want to go with that if you're like stuck on a card. But there's a lot of cool little things going on in the game. You can trade with your opponent. You can attack your opponent trying to get cards. You also have those things when you can get sick and incapacitated. And even though it limits what you can do on your turn, it doesn't completely cut you out like if you were losing a turn. You can still do things. It's just that you have to try to get yourself well either by the die roll or by playing a card, or your opponent could actually help you as well. So all in all, I think it's a good little game. I'd see this being a good filler game for sure, but it's a good little game. I like it. And I would recommend it to anybody who likes light games, that like set collection games where you're trying to complete objectives, and then games that have a little bit of back and forth action going on in the two with action cards. So guys, that's my review of Blast Radius. We'll see you later. Keep on gaming.